Hey guys, welcome back to part 4 of the Vanquish Phoenix VS4-10 assembly. This is the VFD twin transmission. So let's get at it. I've went ahead and taken everything out of the bags and kind of piled it per bag what it was. These all came on these little trees that you had to just snap off and then trim the excess. So this was all from one, this was from another, this was in the bag. It's got a 15-tooth pinion gear. This was another Christmas tree, this was another tree, this was another bag, and then the gears and bearings. So what I've gone ahead and done is separate the different size bearings and all the gears so that I can kind of see everything, and we'll just go through the instruction manual. So we're going to start with this guy, and it's telling me we need two M3 by 12 millimeters, and I'm assuming it's these bigger ones. And again, like I said before, and I'll say every time, you just take the screw and you hold the screw up to the paper, and if it matches, then it's right, because it's all to scale for screws. So we'll start with these two. This guy, a 5 by 11 by 4 millimeter, which is this bearing, which there's plentiful of, and then the smaller bearing there's only 5 of them. And then we need these two. These are plastic. I kind of wish they were metal, but plastic works for now. Maybe they have an upgrade for it. And then we need this long guy here. So we're going to start by putting this bearing on here, and then we will set this in. Well, really, I guess you could snap it in there first. Set this guy in here, and then we will run, let's see, it's a 2.5 head, so we'll put that in the tool, and it shows that this hole is further down on one side than the other, so that goes furthest away from the plate. And then we are going to start threading these in. Alright, that's step 1. Now step 2 is to get this guy, which is going to be part of the slipper clutch, install it onto here. I know it looks like a bearing goes there, but apparently it doesn't, because that has that little protrusion on it, and that sits in there. It still spins freely. And then we've got the slipper clutch plate. Peel off the double-sided sticky tape, and we need a 5 by 9 by 3, so it's one of these other bearings. Slide that onto here, and then we're going to take, this has got a concave and a convex side, and we're going to take the convex side and we're going to slap this sticker on there. Slipper clutch. Alright, then that goes over that, and the bearing sits inside of it like so. I won't push it too far. And then we've got the same thing. Well, let's do this off. Take the other slipper pad and make sure, so it's got a groove that's the same shape as the slipper pad, so we're going to slide this in here, stick it down, it's good to go. And we will slide this back on here. Oh, bearing came out. There you go. And then we got, oh, I did that wrong. This one right here with the smaller piece actually goes on there like that. And then this, and then this, this other part of the slipper clutch goes on the outside. And then you've got a washer, which I'm assuming is this little thin shim. No, it's not. It is actually this blue washer that comes with it, which will sit down inside of the pad. I don't know what to call that, pad, maybe not. And then you get a nylock flange washer, and then we'll screw this on. It says, using the included cross wrench, tighten the M4 nut and then back it off 1/2 turn. I don't see any wrench that it came with, but the majority of them are 7mm, and this one happens to be 7mm. Hang tight. Let's see if we can do this without messing up the flat portion back here. There is no flat portion. So we're gonna hold on to this with a pair of pliers and tighten down this nut. Tighten it down and then back it off 1/2 turn. Alright. Not a big deal, a little bit of scratch, hey, you know. I'm not a computer, or I'm not a machine. I don't do everything the proper way. Alright, then it's telling us we need the motor plate screws, which are M3 by 10mm, and they're going to be flat faced like this. 1, and 2. So for this build, I'm using this Hobbywing Fusion 2-in-1 2300 kV 540 motor spec, and these have been kind of my go-to for the crawlers, especially for the trail rigs, because you just can't beat it, and for the price of $150 it does kill her. Alright, so we're just gonna see how this works with these wires coming out the bottom. Not sure, never put one of these together before, so it might work. Might have to take it off and shift it. But now we are going to take the 15-tooth pinion, slide it down over the shaft. I've already put thread locker on this and kind of put it down, so I like to make it sit flush. Come back through here. Get it tightened up, and then trying to set this mesh. So you want to have just a little bit of wiggle play in it, not too tight. And then we'll tighten this motor down. So what I like to do is, after I tighten the motor down, I'll take one screw out and blue Loctite it, slide it in, make sure not to get it on the plastic, and then do the other one. But since I don't know exactly how this is all going to work, I'm not going to Loctite the motor bolts yet, because I don't know if I might have to take them back off to spin the motor. We've got this piece and this piece, and these go like this. And then it also looks like it screws around. Oh, will slide on here like so. That's a good thing we put the wires at the bottom. Right, and then when I put the other piece, there it is. This will come screw on top of there, so you got nice transmission looking scale pieces, which is pretty cool. And then we need these little itty bitty ones. All right, now that we got that on, it is asking for this piece. And this one will go like so. You have the M3x12s again. And it looks like the 12 millimeters. There's this one and this one. All right, now we've got that on. And it looks like you got a bearing that goes here. Locks down in there. Another bearing that goes here. All right, and then we've got, what do we got next? There's a hole on here for a pin. And it's gonna be one of those real tight tolerance spots. I'm gonna spin it this way so it doesn't fall out like it did. Okay, and then we need, okay, so there's no visible markings that tell you how many teeth are on the gears, but it tells you the width. And again, you can line it up on here to see, okay, this one is that wide, and it's got the groove in it for the pin. And the only other one that has a groove for a pin is this one, and it is not quite as wide. Lock this gear on. Okay. And then we'll set this to the side for a minute, hope it doesn't fall over and lose that gear. And then we've got this one, which is this other shaft, which has got two holes in it. And you've got another pin, which will go on this back. And what looks to be this large gear, which is the only other large gear. Then that locks onto there. And then you bring this back over. Gears are spinning beautifully. Alrighty. And then you will get, set this to the side for a moment. And then we will grab this. And it sits like this, and then we need another bearing here, just like so. And then looks like this sits over it, and then it gets two screws. Right, so I like to test fit everything before I go putting grease on it, because that's the last thing you want to do is have to deal with something that's covered in grease. I'm going to put a little pile of it right there. lock it in, spin it up, and then we're going to take this guy, bring him back, lock it back over that bearing. All right, then we've got M3 by 12. So we've got that. And then it looks like you're getting a cover plate over top with this Vanquish here, or you could come in with this gear shifter. So you've got what, imitation scale shifter knob, or just the Vanquish logo plaque, which is what we're going to go with. Alright, now we've got this done, taken care of. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to start out with the one that does not say 30TOD. And it looks like we're getting bearings in all 4 of these spots. So we'll go ahead and pop those in. Alright, then this guy comes back to transmission plate. Alright, so I'm back. I had a little bit of technical difficulties with the GoPro getting hot. So we're going to try to put the rest of this transmission together, and then I'm going to go look at some new cameras. So now we can go back with this plate, pop it in, make sure it's all seated. Now we can proceed with the correct size pin, and if you put it inside this gear, you can see that is the right size. So let's try this one more time. Slide the pin in it. Slide the gear down over top. Like a glove. Right, what's after that? We have a snap ring. So we've got this little bitty snap ring. It's going to go over top. Snap ring, C-clamp, what do they call it? The E5 clip. And I'm sure they make up specific pliers, but I don't have any. So I'll just use a pair of needle nose. Snap that on there. Gear doesn't come off. We're good to go. Then we've got what looks to be this guy. Get that to seat all the way. There it goes. That will go there, and we will get a 3.5 by 12 millimeter screw. And that looks to be the retainer for the bearing plate. I'm sure it might do something else, but I'm not sure. Alright, set that aside. Now we are going in for, let's see, the shorter one. We're going to hold it up to the instructions as usual, make sure everything's the right size. It looks a little different. So that's that one. And looks like it's going to be the different size than the other one I grabbed, if you didn't see it. But so I'm going to take this and this guy. We'll slide on here. Do it with the whole side facing this way. And then it gets a 5 by 9 by 3 millimeter, which would be this one. And then it gets the 32 tooth gear. And again, set it on the instructions. It's scale size looks right. That will go with the teeth facing this locker. Bearing sits down inside there. And then you've got a larger bearing, which are the 5 by 11 by 4 millimeters. And then you've got a washer, which is going to be one of these real thin, shim type washers. Almost lost that one to the ground. That would have been fun. Alright, so then we got that shaft on this guy. I'm assuming it just sits right on the end. And then you've got the last 20-tooth gear that slides down top. Okay, set that one down. We'll grab this last one, and we've got the, looks like the drive shaft hole. And we'll grab this other tooth dude and another small bearing. And the other tooth grabber gear, another bearing. I'm gonna fit in there. Oh, both the same size. Okay, those go in there like that. Another thin washer. Shim type washer. Alright, and that's number 3. Looks like the first one that we assembled will go into this far one. And then we get the little stubby guy. And then we get the last one we assembled. Doesn't really tell you. Longer shaft, shorter shaft. Right, let's go to the next page, see what the next step is. It's going to be the 32, what is it? Yeah, 30T OD. We're going to fill this one up with bearings. And what is it? This back portion is going to slide down in there, it looks like. That will sit all the way in the back. And then we're going for this guy. And this guy looks like it will slide right down into it. Where does it go? This way. Let's see, if you're holding it this way, and you got like that. That one doesn't have a little stopper on it. Ah, it's the metal one. That's the one we're going for. And it's got the little stopper tooth, and it will slide down into it like so. And I'm assuming those are threaded. Looks like the screws go into it from the back. Yep, it's threaded. Go in there, and then we get 2 of these fellas. And then we'll come back in, torque them down. Torque them down to, yeah, that's tight enough. It's a good torque setting. Pop this bearing back down in there. Boom. And got the bearing plate retainer. Good to go there. And looks like that part we're going to set aside for now. And then we've got the transmission with, we have 2 gears left. So this guy is going, I don't know what this piece is, but this one's going on here. And then you got this last toothed one. You got these last two bearings. Sorry. If we can get it in there. If you want to go in your hole. Like Billy Madison. No, it's not Billy Madison. Who was that? Happy Gilmore. Adam Sandler. Great movie. Alright, so we got those two. And then those go on this guy. Why do I feel like that's not right? It's the only other way it can go, but for some reason... Found the right spacer for it now, guys. Stick that on there. And then this goes on which way? With the nipple teeth facing out. Okay. Then this gear goes on it. There we go. Now it's spaced. Now we try to shove it in here. Alright guys, we're back. Sorry, I had a little bit of technical difficulties trying to get this rear housing together. You've got the front drive shaft that was for some reason kicked out, so I couldn't get the side to seat, so I had to get a tool in there and kind of pry it over and get it to seat in the bearing, but it's in the spot now, so we'll proceed with some more screws. We've got the M3x12, which are these thick boys. There's two of these, and they are going into this hole and this hole. We'll run these down with the drill and then tighten them by hand. Alright, so those three screws. Come back and if I can find the 2.5 over here. Tight, tight, and tight. We'll give everything. I did get everything greased before I put it back together and then covered myself in grease like, you know, that one kid on the internet covered in peanut butter. Probably not that bad, but we're calling it that bad because it's how it felt. Right. Set screws right here on top, which look to be these 3x5mm grub screws. So 1.5, so we're going to go ahead and get these started. In here. And over here. You want to go back in your hole. Alright. Nope, apparently it doesn't. Now it did. Alright, so how far does this go into it? That is what's going to sit. And initiate dig. This guy, which has got the slit in it, and it's a rubber gasket. And this one with a little tooth on it, we will we'll slide this in here. I'm gonna come off screen for a second. Okay, so that sits down in there like that. And then this will screw to the face with the small boy screws. I don't know. We're going to leave them flush. They both, it still functions just fine. I'm okay with that. Maybe we'll get on YouTube and see if anybody else can help us out on that one. Or if anybody else knows, leave something in the comments below. See if I did something wrong. But I'm going to put this thing out in the trails one of these days. Maybe the next 30 years. Alright, so now we are going to the Overdrive doodad. So looks like this has got to come back out because that was just temporary. Then you've got the Overdrive shifter, which will sit above dig, and then you will run this back, this little stopper back in, which holds the two arms together. I missed it. Okay, that is in. Then we've got throwing things again. We got this guy, and this one will sit dead on top. That doesn't sit flush. Why is that not sitting flush? There we go. Locked in that one, locked in this one. So now we'll put this cover plate over top, like so. And we will get the M2 by 6 millimeters again. Here's my handy dandy 1.5. Okay. So it's the same thing about these set screws. We're gonna run them in, see what does what. Oh shoot, sorry about that. Didn't know the camera was that close to my hand. Yeah, we're just gonna run them flush because it says install 3.5 or 3 by 5 millimeter set screws flush with case if single position is used. Tighten the set screw to hold shift arm in position. So, which is pretty cool. So if you lose a shift servo when you're driving down the road or the trail, and for some reason you lose the shift servo and it happens to be kind of in positions, you can pull this forwards, twist it to lock it, and then if you run this guy down all the way, it will keep that from moving so that you're stuck in the regular drive gear, which is what, the 3.5% overdrive versus the 30% overdrive. So that's cool. So we've got that in. And what else do we have? So it looks like a lot of these other things look like if you wanted to do away, you would do like that. So we would have just regular transmission. It doesn't really give me notes about it. And it looks like, again, we've got another, what do you call it? This guy, this dude. I'm going to try this a little bit different this time. No, I'm not going to be easy that way. Now that the transmission is done, the actual next step is to set it into the chassis. So we got the chassis back here. I already dry fit it once and found out that I had to move the wire, or the motor had to be shifted this way. So I took it off and reshifted it and made sure everything lined up properly. So now these clear the upper control arm mount. So you take this cover plate and you put it over top, and then you bring the chassis close by, and you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then over here you've got over here you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 to mount it into the chassis. So it just sits right in there, pretty easy. And then you've got these, what are these, the 16 millimeter screws. So you got 16 millimeter screws for the front here, and then you've got this one 12 millimeter screw that goes on the bottom side up, and then you've got these 3 12 millimeter screws that go on either side of the dig and on the back. So I'm going to get this all screwed in and see how it goes. Alright, and that's that. So I like this. It's got this little dust cover. Helps cover up your pinion and spur gear, which also keeps it from grinding into things and picking up debris. Not just dust, which is pretty cool. So you got your wires. We'll do some wire cleanup once we get the whole thing together. And I was assuming that this is the electronics box, but if it is, my wires aren't long enough. I'm assuming you could put electronics in it. You might have to do something to try to make it waterproof, because I do make extension leads for the whatever plugs into the receiver, so I could do that to get it back in there. But once we get the whole thing assembled and figure out where everything is, then we can go from there. So thanks for watching. This was the VFD twin transmission assembly and set into chassis, and I hope I never have to do this one again. Thanks, guys.